Hello, this is Connor Super Goofy, and welcome back to another video. Today, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be ranking every song on my Connor the Mega album on a tier list. So we are going to be ranking them from 0 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, just like I did for Theodore Dog Weeby. There are 30 there are 35 songs on this album. I decided to omit one of them because it's going to come on a later album. So, this is one of the songs where this is one of the albums where one of the tracks was reused on a different album later on. So, we will review that track on when we get to the Party People album, um, which which is what that other song is on. So we're going to be looking at 34 songs today. Um, Starting with Game Breaker. Let's just get into it. Game Breaker, I think, is probably one of the weakest openers of any Connor Super Goofy album. Fun fact, this song, I actually had the idea for the song way back when I was in the alpha production cycle, the production cycle for my debut album Alpha way back in 2022. And um it was originally going to have Daniel Van Cleve and Cameron Torres on it, but Daniel Van Cleve discovered some lyrics in his verse that he thought that he would be better off not saying, so we kind of just ended up scrapping the song and moving on. Um, Later, I dug up the lyrics to this song um, randomly and decided, hey, why don't I give this another shot and have Mr. Ashford on it? The beat is the beat overpowers the vocals, which is the first big issue. The beat is, I think, kind of draws inspiration a little bit from California Love by Tupac, but there's this really loud, like recess, like playground sample that I used in the background that definitely isn't on California Love. Yeah, I think that that sample would have been best off not being there. And My vocals don't sound great. My delivery isn't the best, and Mr. Ashford's verse is mediocre. So I think this song is it's probably like a light four. All right, Bridges, which is the second song on this album. Um, Bridges Bridges was produced by X Forever 9X, which is a BandLab producer that had some was making some huge waves on Connor's Hot List at the time. Um, he has mostly disappeared now, but yeah, X Forever 9X X Forever 9X had this beat and I forked it from him. And I think this song is it's just one verse repeated three times and um yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly average. It's like a 5 out of 10. Um there's not really much to say about this. Okay, the imposter. The imposter is actually a pretty good one. Honestly. It's got a good piano driven beat with some good bass. I like the piano chords and the melody. And the hook is also pretty decent for a Connor the Mega album hook. Spoiler alert, this album is not great. Um, it's going to have a lot lower of an average score than, Theodore Dogweeby did. But The Imposter is one of the better songs on it. I just wish it was louder, though. My vocals being quiet is actually the main criticism I have with this song. I like the lyrics, I like the hook, I like the beat. It's I think this is like a 7 out of 10 song. It's not a song that I necessarily remember all that well in terms of my catalog, and it wasn't a hit, but Yeah, it was it's a pretty good one. The Ego song. This has a pretty good beat. Nice jazzy feel to the beat, and this beat I got from Out the Box ENT. And the beat's really good. And I like the lyrics. The lyrics are just talking about people with big egos, is basically what the song is all about, and I think it goes about it in a pretty humorous way. I think the song is also like a 7 out of 10, but it's not as good as The Imposter. Okay, so there are 6 tracks on this album, which are basically just instrumentals. Um, Songs that don't have any lyrics behind them. And Tomorrow Night is the first one of those, and I think it's definitely one of the weakest ones. It's not a bad instrumental. I'd say it's perfectly average. It's just got these synths. It's a synthy instrumental. Um, that's that's basically what I would say about it. So Tomorrow Night, I give a 5 out of 10. I think it's no, it's not better than Bridges. Um, Number 6. So here we have our sixth song. So here we have our first remake. That being the remake of SHPOT. There are 2 remakes of SHPOT. There's um the other one is actually going to be the one that's on the Party People album. So we're gonna look at this SHPOT remake only for this album. Um, 3 different versions of SHPOT became hit on Connor's Hot List, and this is the only one that didn't. But I think all the remakes of SHPOT are pretty decent. Um, this one is, I'd say it's better than, I'd say it's the best remake version, actually. I think I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. It's got nice piano. It's kind of got a nice R&B vibe going. It kind of transforms the more um like the almost kind of poppier aesthetic of the original SHPOT, and it gives it more of an R&B vibe, I would say. Easel Weasel. This is the best song that we have seen so far. Easel Weasel was the massive hit off this album. Um, it was released a day before the album came out, and I like the beat, and I like the fact that I was able to use a tongue twister as a hook. Those back in the days where I was a lot more creative. And it shows on this song, and I think it's really good. It's an 8 out of 10. But we do it one better with the song Rhodium, which also has a really good beat. It's got a really good hook as well. It's got 3 really good verses. My verse at the beginning, which I complained about. So in the Wonder review, I complained about my verse on the doghouse being a little bit too overdriven, but this is an overdriven verse that I think I did correctly. I think it made sense to have my verse on this song be overdriven. Plus I like Reagan's verse, I like Reagan's lyrics, and Aiden Navarez's verse is probably the funniest guest verse in my entire catalog. Um, I would say this is a 9 out of 10. And this is the best we'll be seeing, by the way. There's not going to be any 10 out of 10s on this album. Um, just um, just foreshadowing. And I think this is also the only 9 out of 10 track. The Virus remake. So a lot of these remakes have the same problem. A lot of the remakes on this album were made very early in my time on BandLab, like in my first 2 or 3 months on BandLab, is when most of these remakes were being made. And so a lot of them are a lot sloppier. I think SHPOT was one of the better ones, but Virus, I can't say the same. In fact, this was actually the first song I ever made on BandLab. Um, the first song I ever released on BandLab. I released it way back in January of 2023, full 7 months before the album would come out. And I think it shows, I think listening to it shows how much of a noob I was back at the time. Um, it's pretty sloppy. I I'd say the beat is okay for a beat that I made very early in my time on BandLab, but I just think the original is better. That's another problem that a lot of these remakes have is that they're just inferior to the original. And Virus, I think, is no exception. I think it's a 4 out of 10 and it's worse than Game Breaker. Goofy Boys remake I would also put in the same spot, although I put it above Virus. Because it's it's not it's not bad on its own. It's just inferior to the original. And it's also made very early in my time on BandLab once again, so it's a lot sloppier. Um, All for the Best is the second of the instrumental cuts on the album, and I think it's one of the best ones actually. It's got this nice piano sample that turns into like a pad sample. It's got a nice chord progression as well, and a nice drum line. I think I'm gonna put it as a 7 out of 10, but it worse than the Ego song and the Imposter. Number 12, Wait for Me. I think this song is pretty mediocre. Um, I'd say it's um I'd say the drums and the bass don't really fit the synth line very much, and my vocal performance is pretty average, and the lyrics are nothing noteworthy. I think this is like it's like a 4 out of 10, but it's better. It's better than Game Breaker though. Mercy. This is the first big hit that I released on BandLab. This is the first song that I released on BandLab that became a big hit, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it's pretty good. Um, Looking back at it, the lyrics are slightly corny, but not like antisocial level corny. So, and I think the beat is really good. I got it from my video game design classmate who introduced me to BandLab, Brody Collins, also known as Yo Bu, who stopped making beats immediately after this. And yeah, I think whoops, this song is a 6 out of 10. Better than the Spot remake. Also, Ender Dragon. This is another one that suffers from the same problems as Virus and Goofy Boys. It's just inferior to the original, and once again, it's a lot sloppier. But I think it's slightly better than both of them. No, it's slightly worse than both of them, actually. I'd rather listen to Virus and Goofy Boys remake than Ender Dragon remake. When the Hacker Gets Hacked. I think this is actually one of the better tracks on the album. This one is overlooked a lot, but yeah, I think the lyrics are pretty good, and I think it's got one of my most creative beats ever, relying on this really spacey synth pad, and it breaks down into like a dance, almost like a kind of like a dance hall, I guess, beat at the end, and it's a I think it's one of my most creative. I think it's one of my most creative songs. It's overlooked. I think it's a 7 out of 10. It's better than all these. It's better than the Imposter, and Ego song and all that. We start to take a dip though for these next couple songs in quality. The Friends in My Math Class remake, very sloppy, inferior to the original, and in fact I think it's worse than all these as well. I don't like it. I don't like the Friends in My Math Class remake. It's a 3 out of 10. Um, I'm really noticing that I don't really have that much to say about a lot of these songs. I'm starting to realize that my average ranking is actually a lot higher than a 3 out of 10, which is what I'd given this album to begin with. So I guess now is kind of a really good time to like reassess these albums. Um, but yeah, um, Throw Up Medicine. Man, this song is the dictionary definition of what the hell was I thinking? All right. So we've got the song goes on for too long. The bass overpowers the vocals. The hook is obnoxious. Um, the the synth pads don't sound great. The drums don't sound great. There's four verses, all of them which are badly performed. The lyrics are corny as hell, and it's just an outright disaster of a song. Um, and I think it's a zero. It's a zero. It's a 0 out of 10. You want to know what the craziest part about this is though? Not even the worst song on the album. That's right. We actually do get worse from here, but not immediately. The extremely goofy remake is actually one of the better remakes on this album. I don't think it's quite SHPOT level. I think it's like it's a light 6. Yeah, it's better than Bridges and all that. Um what's that song? What's that song? This is the Class Field Trip remake. Once again, just inferior to the original, like most of these. And also I'd say it's like detrimental in quality as well, just like Friends in My Math Class. In fact, I think it's slightly better than Friends in My Math Class, but it's still just a 3 out of 10. Um, Call the Police. I think it's got a decent beat. It's another X Forever 9X beat. Actually, I think the beat is honestly kind of mid on this one. It's not a decent beat. It's kind of mid. Um, the vocal delivery, as is with a lot of these songs, is um pretty lackluster. And yeah, I think the song probably could have just been executed better. Now let me look. Call the Police is better than all these remakes, but it's still just a 4 out of 10. It's worse than Game Breaker. Um, IDK whatever. I think of the instrumental tracks on this album, this is the best one. Took heavy inspiration from the real Slim Shady, with the guitars, with the guitar melody and the drum line. Um, and I think it's a pretty good beat. In fact, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Um, yeah, better than the Ego song, actually. Better than the Ego song. Um, Pretty good. All right. 22nd track on the album, Biggest Fan remake. It's another one of these. It's another one of these. It's better than both of these, but it's still just a 3 out of 10. Recycle everything that I said about most of the other remakes about how it's like inferior to the original and stuff. Like recycle everything I said about those remakes. Business Meeting remake. This is the other 0 out of 10 song. Um it is mixed horrendously. Like this is the worst mixed song in my entire discography. You thought that some of the mixes on Theodore Dogweeby were bad, like the burned mix or the pumpkin mold mix. Well, this song here, the business meeting remake, blows all of those right out of the water with how badly it's mixed. And all the value that it would have had otherwise, Mr. Jones's verse is not as good, my verse is not as good, the hook is not as good, nothing, the beat's not as good, the mixing is awful, and all the value that there otherwise would have been with this track is immediately erased as well when you realize that you could just listen to the goddamn original. So yeah, this is the other 0 out of 10. I think it's worse than Throw Up Medicine also. Deep Feelings. Got a good beat, slightly corny lyrics, but honestly I don't remember that much. I think it's kind of held back a little bit by how corny its lyrics are. Um it's better than Mercy, but it's worse than all the other songs I gave a 7 out of 10. Um Thank You for Nothing remake once again recycle everything that I said about all the other remakes that I gave a 3 out of 10. All right. Lose It. This is an underrated track. I think the bass goes hard, the beat goes hard, the bass overpowers everything, but in this case I don't necessarily really mind because it's supposed to be like this angry sounding bass song. I think it's one of the best vocal performances in on this album, and it's got some of the best lyrics talking about how Isaac Football, Aiden Patrick was stealing Isaac Football or whatever. Go listen to the song. If you don't know what Isaac Football is, I'm too lazy to bother explaining, but point is this song is pretty good. Better than 90K whatever. Um Slightly worse than The Imposter. Alright. Hot Bang. This is definitely one of the weaker instrumentals. I don't really have that much to say about it. I actually had it kind of I've actually had a song that sounded like it, like imagining a song that sounded like it, like floating in my head since like 2020. So this is one of my oldest song ideas, and I wasn't actually able to turn it into anything more than just an instrumental. Um, and I made the letters on this too small. Um, what is that song title? Oh, Goofy Boys. Okay. It's better than these remakes. It's better than the remakes. It's better than no, it's slightly worse than Call the Police. Okay. Um, Knowledge Understanding. Another remake that I think is just inferior to the I'd actually say it's actually inferior to the version 2.0. I think I one up the original on the 2.0 that I had released before this, and then this is just kind of inferior to that. Um we'll get to the original version and the 2.0 later, but I think this is a 4 out of 10. It's better than all these songs. Um okay, okay, track number 29. Okay, Brandon's rap. I think my best version of Brandon's rap would actually come after this album. I this is the worst version of Brandon's rap. I think it's worse than the original and worse than the version that would come after it, which we will eventually get to in a later video. But also I don't think my vocal delivery is that energetic, and it's kind of one of those songs where the vocal delivery kind of needed to be energetic. So I think it's better than all the other remakes, but it's still just a 3 out of 10. Nemesis remake, just another one that's just inferior to the original. Um, I'd put it above all the other ones. Actually, I'd put it above Ender Dragon, Virus, and Goofy Boys, but I'd put it above Hot Bang and Call the Police. Actually, what's that song title? Oh, Game Breaker. It's better than Game Breaker. Um, yeah, it's a 4 out of 10. I think it sits right there. The Weekend. This is one of the cheekiest tracks on the entire album. It's got a good beat that I got from Stray. I got this beat from Stray from his like early catalog. Good beat, um, cheeky lyrics that kind of slip into corniness a little bit, but I think it's um I think it's a high six. It's better than all these. Um, okay, we got Don't Stop Groovin'. This is the first of the instrumentals, and I think it goes on for the longest. I think it goes on for too long. But the tune behind it is decent. I'd say it's a 5 out of 10, better than Tomorrow Night and Bridges. I'm realizing that I don't really have much to say about these. Set It on Fire, really good beat, but extremely corny lyrics. So I think they those kind of balance each other out, and I think it's a low five, a low 5 out of 10. And then piano outro. This is just like a beautiful ending to the album. I think it's really good. And yeah, fun fact, this song was actually recorded live on my piano back in 2020. And um um I actually recorded it back in 2020 and I found it and I decided, "Hey, why not make this an act release this as an actual song?" So I did, and that is obviously I think it's better than All for the Best, and it's not better than the Ego song though. So yeah, that is my ranking of Honor the Mega album. So the best track here is Rhodium. The worst track is the Business Meeting remake. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.